All right, welcome back, future fire breathers. Welcome back to the Modern Athlete Podcast, where we redefine what it means to be an athlete. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Adrian Lerma, an exceptional athlete himself. And Adrian, tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you to really get into CrossFit?
I've always been into lifting weights. That's usually what I'm more driven towards. I enjoy like powerlifting and then,
Okay.
general supporting workouts. What got me started on CrossFit is I took my wife to the gym. She didn't really like, hey, do this, do that, with just strict weight training. She wasn't into it. And
Okay.
one of my old football coaches was big time in CrossFit. So I referred her to his gym. And so she started going and she fell in love with it.
Nice.
And I continued weight training. And that's really all I really cared about. So she kind of did well at it. We moved around a little bit because of the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
And then she ended up going to one that she really fell in love with. The staff there was great. The trainers were amazing. And I would go as like a guest.
Mm-hmm.
But I got an introduction to it, basic movements, and I did well because I'm strong, not because, I was flexible or capable of doing all the lifts, but just because I was strong, I was able to kind of compete with a lot of the entry level guys there. Um,
Okay.
and then just over the time, I mean, she got pretty good at it, and I would do some of the workouts with her at home. We had a gym in our garage, so that also helps with that. And then
Yeah, I saw the gym.
recently,
That looks amazing, man. Kudos to you. I gotta hop in there sometime and try it
yeah,
out.
it'd be awesome. Whenever you're in Vegas, man, hit me up
Yeah,
and we'll make it
I
happen.
know. And how's the move, by the way? I didn't ask you about that.
It's good. So right now I'm still in San Diego. I'm
Okay.
still serving in the military. The wife's there at the house, so she's holding it down, putting the gym to good use. So that happened. And then this year in January, I was out in the desert training for 2 months. And another buddy of mine, a coworker, him and his wife are hardcore CrossFitters. They love it. And so me and him, we started doing CrossFit because I wanted to lose some weight. So I was about 220 pounds. Um, Physically, I was plenty strong. I'm pretty mobile. I was able to do a lot of things, but my overall like running started getting degraded and stuff like that. So I wanted to be able to maintain strength and build my endurance up a lot more. So me and him, we just started grinding at the CrossFit. I would implement my little strength things, and he would just hit me with the full on CrossFit workload, and we just got into it. And I really enjoy it, and it's been great. Those 2 months, I lost almost 20 pounds. Uh,
Whoa! Congratulations, man. Good job, man. That's like a
so
10
I've been
pounds each month. That's good.
Yeah, so I've been grinding at it. Was it Friday? Last Friday I hit 199.8. So that's my first time in 6 years being under 200.
Whoa! My
Yeah,
God,
so
that's
big
still
improvement.
pretty good.
Yeah, that was a major personal goal. So I just want to keep pushing it. We're kind of restricted now with all the gym closures.
Yeah.
So I'm not really able to travel home like I was before and use my own gym. And then all the local gyms are closed. So I've just been making do with what I got. Body workouts, a lot more running. I implemented running because I really need to work on that, especially as a Marine. Our fitness test is graded on a 3 mile run. So for me, that's important. I need to improve that just to stay competitive in the Marine Corps while I serve. But so yeah, that's the goal right now. That's kind of how I got into CrossFit.
That's
Uh,
good, man.
I
And
really enjoy.
what really prepped you for CrossFit? Was it the football background or the Marine background?
Um, the Marine background and the football background are kind of similar because a lot of times we go do workouts and it's not always just running. We do a lot of like high intensity training,
Okay.
which is similar to like a football practice. A lot of different stations, a lot of drills and
Hmm.
stuff like that is great. A lot of Marine Corps workouts are not centered around weights; they're more centered around your body and obstacles. Because that's more or less what you're going to encounter as a Marine. They're trying to relate them to real life
Hmm.
experiences.
It's
Uh,
definitely more functional fitness, I would
yeah,
guess.
definitely a lot of functional fitness. So I think the routine is what I like about it. Some of the movements I don't enjoy, like overhead squat, I can't stand it.
Hmm.
Um,
I
that,
hate overhead squats, man.
that,
I've been trying
that,
so long to get that. It's just not working for me. Oh,
sorry, I
no,
just got it.
that's
Oh,
okay.
my bad. Um, Yeah, the overhead squats and the snatches, I'm not really a big fan of those. Obviously, I love like major lifts like deadlift and just back squat. Those are my favorite things to do. But I just enjoy the whole aspect of it because you get strength, you get mobility. I'm a lot more flexible now, so that's
Good.
great.
And you feel that CrossFit really helped with the flexibility part?
Yeah, I mean, before I do front squats and I do the power lifter way, like, I have my arms like this over the bar. Now I can shoot my arms all the way under, no problem. And
Nice, nice, nice. That's good, man. And so how long have you been serving in the Marine Corps for?
10 and a half years.
10.5 years. My man, I salute you, man. I salute you. Your service is greatly honored. I'm Canadian, but,
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So what made you want to get into the Marine Corps?
I wasn't doing much as a child. When I was a young teenager, I was, running around being a bad kid as you would. And I needed more guidance, I think, in my life. I didn't really want to go to school. I did well in high school. And then my cousin was a Marine, and I kind of saw that, and I was like, man, that's awesome. And it's something I was kind of interested in. And a recruiter actually showed up to talk to me, and I was just like into it. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm definitely interested. Let's go check it out. And I did well, and I joined the summer before my senior year of high school. And then right after I graduated, I pretty much left a week later. So just jumped right into it. Yeah.
Nice, nice. God, it's like, that's incredible, man. Like, right out of high school, you were straight to the Marines. It must have been a scary experience, too, right?
I didn't really know what I was getting into. It was kind of, everything's like a shock. You go do something new, it's just shock. And that's kind of what it was for me. Physically, it's very demanding, but it's also very mentally demanding.
Yeah, of course.
You got to be willing to do a lot of things that you're not comfortable with. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. I'm willing to be uncomfortable. So that's okay with me. So usually just kind of like suck it up and power through. And there's a lot of rewarding factors to it.
Exactly. Embrace the suck, right?
Yeah, really. Yeah, you really do.
I know CrossFit and the military, they each have strict disciplines as well. They're very disciplined.
Yeah.
Do you feel that your discipline from the military really carried over to the CrossFit area?
Yeah, I could say that aligns in its own way.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, I mean, specifically military things, a lot of things like on a time basis. So like you have a specific timeline, a specific need that you have to meet. So I mean that'd be the same thing for CrossFit. You have a WOD and you might have to hit X amount of reps in a certain time, or you want to maximize your reps in that time. So you really got to give it all you got. And I think that part is what relates to the Marine Corps, because if you're not putting in an effort, you're not going to get the result that you want, and that could slow you down, especially in the military. We have our promotions and our rank system, and I mean, if you don't put an effort, you're not going to necessarily get promoted.
Exactly. So, that's just like life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I know me and you were talking about different squats, depths, and everything like that. Do you mind talking a little bit more about that? Because I was a little confused.
Okay. Yeah,
so you were talking about 60% drop set and all that stuff.
So one thing that's kind of important is identifying what you're capable of. So getting a 1 rep max in is something I do like every couple of months. You don't want to do it too often, because I feel like your body doesn't need that intense amount of stress, because that's a lot of weight to some people. For me, my max back squat's about 540.
Okay. Whoa, 540 pounds or kg?
Pounds.
Pounds. Jesus Christ, man. God.
So what I do is I take that. I use like I have a calculator app on my phone that just breaks it all down to me, each percentage, each rep. And so a lot of times I'll build my workout. So let's just say we're doing a 5-5, 3-3-1 or something like that, where those are the repetitions. I'll do the first set, kind of a low percentage, like 65 or 60. And I build it up to where my final rep is about a 90% of my max squat. Just trying to push more towards the point of failure. So like when I'm really isolating my squat or deadlift, my very last rep, I want it to be on the edge of failure. So that way, because I mean, a lot of times you'll go and you try to hit a high number and you can't do it. And then a lot of people will call it quits at that point, and they don't want to keep going. So what I want to do is I want to hit that number that I set for myself, And then I know like, okay, now I can push another 5% past that. And then I'll usually, I mean, back squats or deadlifts for me, I usually get pretty worn out. It's a very demanding lift.
Oh, definitely.
And they also take a lot of time, because especially when you're going really heavy, you gotta take longer breaks in between. So when I'm isolating those workouts, I'll do that, and then I'll drop back down to where I initially started at, which is like a 65% of my max, and I'll hit that for like another set of 10 maybe, just to get some more repetitions in there and loosen my legs back up or something before I move on to the WOD.
Okay. So you do your lifts first, then you do your WOD. Is that how
Yes.
you program? Okay.
I always hit my strength first, whatever that is. Some days I just strictly weight train, and that's all that I do. But that's generally what I want to do first, because I know I'm going to push myself harder because I'll have more energy. My body has more ready for me. If I go break myself down, with something crazy, and then I go to try to, put in work on solely a back squat or something, I'm not going to have the power or strength to keep going.
Okay, that's an interesting point, because I used to do it the other way around. I used to get my WOD over with and do my lifts afterwards. And I was like tired, man. Like, I don't know, like the WODs just take so much out of you. I didn't really give my.
Oh, they really do.
Yeah, so then I'm like, oh my God. I used to be squatting 315, but then it just dropped down to 225. I'm like, God damn. That's awesome. But what would you say was the biggest challenge you had to overcome in CrossFit? The biggest challenge?
Doing the clean, so there's a few aspects to it. Like I know that I'm strong. My deadlift numbers are great. They're right there with my squat. And my buddy that I'd lift with, he would clean 225 for a working set. I'm just like, man, like I could deadlift and squat way more than him. My chest is stronger, but I cannot compete with him. Like I just can't. Like in those, he had the flexibility. He has the movements down. He's been doing CrossFit for years. So that kind of like pushed me more to want to do it. So I started stretching my wrist more, practicing shooting my elbows under more, and then more repetitions. Obviously, you're going to build up to it. So I think with the clean, it requires a lot. You still need squat power. You still need, you got to be able to shrug the weight up pretty high. There's a lot of movements to that specific exercise, and I think me getting past that was the hardest part. And I mean, I still don't have a perfect one. And it's funny because my wife gives me a hard time about it all the time. I'll send her a video. She'll be like, "Oh, no rep, that doesn't count." I was just like, "Oh, man."
That's the worst. Every time I'm at my box, the CrossFit coach, he gets on my butt about that, man. He's like, every time, it's no rep for this guy. It's the worst. God.
Well, stuff like that helps me, but that's definitely the exercise I struggle with the most, at least that I cared about to put the most effort into.
Okay, that's good. Good, man. And how long has your wife been doing CrossFit for?
I'd say on and off about 6 years. The last 3 years is when she's been the most dedicated. I'd say 3 or 4 years. So she's still there. We recently had a baby. He just turned 1.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So she's still easing back into it. It took her some time to get ready back into it, but she's definitely back at it. She's loving it, but just trying to get back to where she was, pre baby.
Okay, that's good, man. That's good. So how long did it take you to actually like get the clean right? I know you're talking about it took you a long time. What's the rough estimate?
I've been on and off with it for a while, and then when we were out in the deserts, when I really started hitting it, I'd say probably a solid year though is that I've been trying it, because my whole goal was I wanted to hit 225 because in pounds that's 2 plates, and I was like, man, I really want to hit 2 plates, and I just struggled with it so much, and it was just I got it a couple times and it was just the ugliest looking repetition, and I was just like, I'm not satisfied with that. I want to be able to get it easier, and I really struggle with it, and so I'd say that year I'm on and off fighting it, so about a year, yeah. Maybe 2 now, I guess.
3 years, okay. Still, that's not bad. A lot of athletes, they take about 4 or 3 years to do it, which is crazy. Yeah. And I know you look like a very driven athlete yourself. Would you say that's the number one factor for like a beginner CrossFitter to have?
You definitely got to be driven. Yeah, you have to stay motivated. It's really hard when you're doing it by yourself. So I think if you on a buddy program, like you got someone that's going with you, or you actually get into a box, where they drive you, because someone driving you is going to push you a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what helped me more say, because I still consider myself very beginner to CrossFit. So I haven't perfected anything. I think I'm still working on all of it. But yeah, I'd say being driven is the hardest part. Because you could just go have weights at home and you're by yourself. No one's there to correct you. No one's there to tell you you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, I tend to procrastinate more if I'm just by myself in the garage working out. So
Mm.
that definitely slows me down.
So you
So
definitely want that other person to motivate you and push you.
someone else there to drive you or hold you accountable, I guess.
That's good. That's good. And if like for any CrossFit beginner out there, what would you say is like something that they should definitely do besides the buddy program? Just any tips you would recommend?
Just make the time.
Just make the time.
Uh, yeah, making the time is probably the biggest challenge. Everybody's like, "Oh, I'm going to be sore," or "I can't do that." Like, you
Mm-hmm.
probably can. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to be sore, but you'll get over that. You'll get to the point where you're in a rhythm and you're going, and now, you'll get to the point where you feel bad if you don't go. You know,
Yeah,
so
exactly. You just
initial,
gotta
the,
do it, man.
yeah, the initial plunge is the hardest part, I guess. Just jump into it and go.
Yeah. That's what like a lot of you guys in the military say, right? Just freaking do it. Forget
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, there's times too, even a specific lifts, like, man, I don't feel good today, I can't do it. And
Mm.
then, if you skip the gym that day, or you're just gonna be like, man, maybe I could have done it. And now I feel like, I wasted today. I didn't gain anything today. So, but yeah, you just gotta,
Gotta do it. That's
yeah,
good.
suck it up. Yeah.
Gotta suck it up. Well, thank you again for your time, Adrian. I really appreciate it. I gotta cut it off short here, but thanks again for the interview. You have yourself a great night, okay?
All right, you too, man. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Stay safe. Have a great day at work tomorrow.
All right, man. Take care.
Take it easy. Thanks again, buddy. Let's face it, this fitness journey you're on is hard as hell to accomplish. If you're struggling to stay motivated in your workouts, you're constantly losing energy and losing your battle to fatigue in your WODs, and you feel like you're losing all your gains in the process, then I got something perfect for you. It's my latest supplement, SUNFIRE. It's an all-natural and sugar-free energy booster specifically made for you, the CrossFit newbie, to power through the toughest WODs and gain long-lasting energy and endurance. Want to learn more? Then go to www.apollosubs.com and you can find out all about it. I'll see you on the other side.